Hello everyone, welcome to this session. We will focus on different seed systems, crop diversity, and role of different stakeholders. Putting farmers' access to the seed as a key goal. In addition, this session will provide conceptual basis for the training course. I have organized this session into two parts. This presentation is the first part. Second part, which I will be sharing with you in the next separate presentation. Let's get started with the first part of the sessions, which will focus on seed system and crop diversity. We all know that seed is a key issue for farmers. Seed need to be available in sufficient quantity at the right time, at the right place, and seed has to be affordable to the farmers. This looks easy, but this is the most complex challenges in the seed systems. Seed also need to be well suited to the local growing condition of farmers and meeting their diverse needs. For example, farmers usually maintain a different variety for feeding to their family and a different variety for the local sale in the market, a variety for the maintaining some culture or traditions. This means right crop, right varieties that also matters equally important for the farmers. Seed is not only a key issue for farmers, but it is also an important issue for both professionals and policymakers. Seed is the source of genetic resource, all agriculture biodiversity, tradition knowledge, culture. So it called for the agriculture biodiversity conservation for current and future generations. Seed also agent for the change. It called for the technology transfer uh, through increased crop productivity. Seed is a commodity which can be traded, and the issues and discussions and then policy around intellectual property rights. This all matters. Seed is very complex for farmers, professionals, and policymakers. Where do farmers access to the seed? Let's check it out this flow diagram. Farmers use the seed mainly for their crop productions. Large part of the crop produce they consume as a food. If the crop produce is surplus, they sell the crop produce in the local market, or they exchange with other farmers as a gift, or they barter with other crops or varieties, or through other agricultural labors. And some part of the crop produce they save as a seed for the next seasons. So the market and the exchange, if we look at the market, the grain market, when the other farmers, if they do not have a sufficient quantity of seed or lack of seeds, they, in many cases, they go to local market, buy the grain, and use as a seed for their crop productions. Um, when the exchange generally, the exchange takes place for the purpose of the seeds. So that through the exchange, or the market, or their household own seed saving, this is the seed systems that is operating for many years. And this is called as informal seed systems. Now the outer circle of the flow diagrams from the farmers' crop diversities, gene banks, they collect the seeds and maintain in the gene banks. The seed or germplasms where it's maintained in the gene banks are available most of the cases for the breeding programs. It could be international breeding program or national breeding programs. And these breeding programs develop a new varieties and then release from the national systems, national variety release systems, and that variety is further multiplied, and the quality has been assured through the quality control systems, and the seed will be distributed by government or private sectors or NGOs projects, and that goes to the farmers. And farmers again use the seed for the crop productions, and then the cycles again start to operate. So the gene banks, breeding, productions, quality seed productions, quality control, this is formal seed systems. So the formal seed systems and informal seed systems always exist in all contexts, but depending on the priorities of the formal seed systems, it will be limited to the few crops. Not all crops bin where we do have a national breeding programs. Mainly the main food security crops are given more priorities where the formal seed systems often exist. This is the result of a study which was done in 2016, and this study covered 40 different crops and interviewed over 9,600 farmers across the 6 countries. The study found farmers access 51% of their seed from local market, 31% seed from their own saving, the household seed saving, 9% seeds from social networks, that's neighbors or families, 6% from NGOs programs, only 2% seeds are being accessed from agro dealer shops. So that means 90% of the seed that farmers are accessing from informal seed systems. Only 10%, that's the way the formal seed systems is contributing. The other interesting part of the study was 55% of the seed was paid for cash. So that means even informal seed systems quite dominant, farmers are purchasing the seed for cash. This is another study done in highly industrial agriculture countries like in Netherlands, Germany. There, the farmers, the percent of the seed source from informal seed systems in these countries, it shows in Netherlands 25%, Germany 50%, Greece is 90%. So the both context clearly shows that the informal seed systems is important, not only in the context of the developing countries in Asia or in Africa, but also in highly industrial agriculture countries like in Europe. Um, that is the key finding of this study that I just presented with you. Let's look at the role of private sectors. And these slides mainly focus to the big companies, global company or the regional companies. And then the specific role for the farmers, access to the seed, focusing to the field crops. And then the global company, from this data, it shows that they're mainly involving in the seed production of crops like maize. In most of the cases, the hybrid maize, rice, sorghum, soybean. These are the some crops, field crops, where the global companies are involving in the seed production. When you look at the regional company, and the regional company's portfolio is a bit diverse. So the maize is still their priority crops, but also they are involving in bean seed productions, sorghum seed productions, soya productions, soybean seed productions, rice seed productions. Overall, these global and regional companies supplying 2.5% of the total seed need of the field crops in the developing countries' farmers. But when we look at the private sector role in the vegetable crops, then we will see their role is tremendous. They have a large portfolio of vegetable crops across the regions. And overall, 60% seed need of smallholder farmers of the vegetable crops are supplied by the private sectors. This means private sectors really playing important role in a vegetable seed supply. I just share with you the few data about the role of formal or informal seed systems to the farmers. Let's discuss more about the role of informal seed systems. I think you recognize this diagram. This is the informal seed systems, and there are three main channels where farmers are getting seeds from the local market, from the seed network, and their own household seed saving. So we will discuss a bit more each different seed channels or seed systems in next slides. Let's get started with the household seed saving. These photographs I took in West Nile Joam when I in Uganda. There I was working with the local farmers to develop their capacity as a professional seed producers. Very small rural farmers, sorghum farmers, and they are holding the seeds. They save their own productions, and then it will be used for the next growing seasons. Within the household seed saving, the key aspect is farmers maintain several crops and varieties to fulfill their household's needs. So they maintain a portfolio of crop and varieties that includes land races, also improved varieties, varieties for home consumption, varieties for specific for the local income, cash income, fodder for the cattle or livestock, or specific varieties that only fit to their soil. So in that way, they are maintaining different crops and varieties and promoting crop diversities. These are the two pictures. The first pictures here, it's from India. The women farmers here, she was growing 7 different crops from millet to castors, different type of crop. And this is from one households where different type of beans been maintained by one single farmers in Uganda. The second aspect of the household seed saving is the seed quality. Farmers use different criteria to maintain the quality of the seed. It is not just they use a grain and then use as the seeds. No, in many instances they use specific care, specific criteria to maintain the quality of the seeds. For examples, selecting plants which looks like a mother plants, or selecting seed from the center of the plot, looking the best panicle which are not affected by disease or pest, keeping separate the grains and the seeds. And so there are so many other criteria and practices they do. This is the pictures from West Nile, and then the house, the sorghum farmers. The farmers maintaining a small plot here. It is sorghums. This is for seed. Uh, but he also has a big plot that for the grain. So in that way, they by growing near to the house, the farmers could give more care, like birds and other. Uh, so that way, farmer really trying to maintain the good seeds for the next seasons. But it's also true that many cases farmers have suboptimal quality seed quality because of mainly because of the poor storage conditions, and then new seed-borne diseases and pests, or climate change rapidly happening, and that emerging new diseases and pests, it's very hard for them because the traditional knowledge is not sufficient to deal with this new disease and pest. At the household seed saving, what we found that the seed demand is anti-cyclic. That means when there is a good production seasons, uh, the seed demand at the household levels would be low. But when the production season is bad, then the seed demand would be high. That means when the good seasons, most of the farmers they do have a good harvest, so they can fulfill their seed need. But when there is a bad seasons, then they don't have a good harvest. So that means it is most likely they don't have a sufficient seed, and the demand is high. And within the informal seed systems, it is not always seed is sufficiently available. Even within the informal seed systems, seed is a key issue. Sufficient volume, sufficient quantity of seed is a challenge. This is one data which shows different crops. Here we studied 10 different crops that included 55 different varieties. Out of 55, 38 varieties were local varieties and 17 were improved varieties. And the seed source, 91% it's provided by informal seed systems and 9% from the other seed systems. That means still 91% is informal, but when you look at the seed sufficiency at the household level, only 20% farmers told us the seed is sufficient for them, but the rest 80% farmers we found seed is not sufficient for them, so they always look for the seeds from different sources. That's why the importance of different systems is very important. Now we'll discuss about the seed network of informal seed systems. All the farming communities or villages, they do have their own social seed network. Um, some of the members at the village, they are highly active to get the new seeds, new varieties, and supplying that's the seeds to the other community members, other farmers within the village. Sometimes they also share the seeds outside the village. These type of farmers who are actively involving getting seeds and then supplying or exchanging, sharing seeds uh, are called nodal farmers. And then when the households or farmers are receiving, exchanging seeds, it forms its own networks. On the left hand side here, this is the rice seed network from central part of Nepal, small villages where we studied. The circles here represent the households, and there are arrows going towards uh, different directions. That means giving or receiving. And then there are also the names mentioned as the variety names and what way they are exchanging, like exchange or gift, those network mechanisms. Um, this shows different households are connected to each others, but some of them are connected with the many other households. These are the LOs, like here, here, here. They are called nodal farmers. So the nodal farmers are very important in the communities to maintain the social seed networks. If they don't play active role, these networks will be collapsed. We will have a presentations that will be done by our other colleague because He will share more about the whole social seed networks. But the key importance aspect is to every communities they do have their own networks, and then there are some of the farmers which are very active and they are called nodal farmers, and they play a very important role. This is the chickpea seed network in Oromia region in Ethiopia. That also shows the green, the blue are the male, and the pink are the female farmers. You see the larger size of the circle shows the higher percentage of the sharing of the seeds or connecting with the other farmers. They are usually the nodal farmers. Unfortunately, in these scenarios, the male farmers are more actively playing role, and they are more nodal farmers than the female farmers. So we also can see the role of male or female farmers in the social networks. Let's have a short discussion. These are the two seed network uh, farming communities, the community A and community B. Um, the community A, when you look at the seed network, it is very complex. That means every households are connected some way with the other households. We call it a complex seed network. In the second community, the B community, we see the network is more diffuse. So we call it a diffuse seed networks. And these red circles are female farmers, the green are male farmers. By visualizing these two type of seed network, my question with you, which farming community, A or B, and the seed systems will show more resilience when the severe drought affected in their crop productions. So when drought happened in both three communities, which seed network or which community will show more resilience? Just give a thought. And which community do you think more resilience? If you think that the community A would be more resilient, I think yes, that's true. Because when drought happened, let's assume some part of the areas affected by drought, even the areas affected by the drought, the network is so much connected. They will get the seed from other farmers very quickly. So they could bounce back much more faster. But here, if drought happened, uh, and they are disconnected, for them to get the seeds quickly, it's more challenging. Uh, in the communities, the social relationship, trust is very important. Gaining trust, it takes time. So it's difficult for them to rebound because they are not connected to each others. So that in that way, we also can see this network analysis and then visualizations, and and an analysis could lead us the resilience capacity in the communities. Um, Often this community B type of seed networks, what we found, we need some external interventions, such as, for example, community seed banks. Community seed banks works in this type of community very well because they often lack seeds, and then seed banks could be a source where they can go and then get the seeds. But here, community seed banks often fail because the demand is somehow fulfilled by their own networks. So it also helps to design our different strategies that will be shared with you in different other lectures, other modules of this training course. Now, this is the third channel, local market within the informal seed systems. So we will discuss more about the role of local market. When do farmers go to local market? Uh, Mainly during the bad seasons, when a drought or flood happened, then there is no choice left. The household seed saving is already gone. So that is the easiest way for them to go to the local market. Or new disease and pest completely wiped out their crop. Or storage problems. The area is food insecure. They have to eat everything. A formal seed system doesn't exist. So in these occasions, local market functions as the seed source to the farmers. But some of the crops like groundnuts, beans, even there is a lack of quality seed. There are a lot of problem with the varietal mixtures. We found the local markets are more reliable source for the farmers. The common strategies for farmers to buy the grain, which we call a potential seed, and use as a seed for the growing the crops. So these are local markets are not the agro dealer shops or seed shops. They are open market or village market, like just one example's photos. Uh, that type of shops where farmers usually visit when they buy something for their household needs. At the same time, they buy the grain and use as a seed. There are three types of stakeholders involved in the local market. First, petty vendors. These petty vendors sell directly to the community or neighbors. They are men or women. They use local transportations like donkey, bicycle. Uh, they sell grain, potential seed from home, or weekly village market or open air market. The other mobile traders, they are most of the cases they are intermediaries like aggregators, millers, processors. They supply to 3 to 5 villages, and also they supply to the traders. They are mostly men. They use their own van so they could travel during the time when farmers start growing the crops. In many cases, they do have their own saw. They function seasonal or daily or weekly basis. The third categories of local markets are the wholesalers or traders. They are large to small, medium, like the various sizes of the businesses. They supply to the regions or sub-region like district or many districts, mostly men, and they do have the truck, a van. They do have a permanent shop and they function daily. So different type of vendors and traders are involved in a local market. One of the study found these big traders, like wholesale traders, they often don't know what type of varieties they are selling because they are collecting from different sources. So they are mixing everything. So the study done in Ethiopia, what we found, the quality of local market from the petty vendors, it's much higher because they know the name of the variety, they know which production environment is much good fit that varieties. But when you go to the mobile traders or wholesale traders, the knowledge and then the quality aspect slowly goes deteriorated. So petty vendors are supplying good quality seeds than the bigger traders. Now let's discuss about the formal subsistence. In the beginning, I share with you these figures, which start from the crop genetic resources. In most of the cases, these are the gene banks. but also the collections done from the farmer's field, crop breeding programs, variety release systems, seed multiplications, seed marketing. So these are the different functions within the formal seed systems, and it's very specialized tasks. What are the advantages of formal seed systems? Because of those investments made in the gene banks, plant breeding programs, there is a systems of variety release, systems of quality control, and distribution systems that results improve variety with the high quality seeds. However, formal seed systems do have some risks or limitations. For example, varieties may not be adapted when it reaches to the farmer's field. The seed supply may be erratic. Sometimes seed reaches to the farmers after the planting season is just over. Because of the involvement, the supply systems, certification systems, all may impact in delaying the supply. Other important aspect when the improved varieties, a few improved varieties replace the existing local crop diversities, um, the loss of genetic resource that we know all, the whole issue of green revolutions and how it impacted to the loss of existing genetic resource. Seed may be expensive because of all the investment made to produce good seed. For the farmers' point of view, the smallholder farmers' point of view, they might see seed is the certified seed is expensive for them. Often, this is also case. It's for them to afford the certified seed is always challenging. So these are the some risks and limitation of the formal seed system. I just share with you only 2 slides about formal seed systems, but I'm going to share with you more about formal seed systems in my next presentations. Um, with this message, I do have a few questions with you that I will share with you in my next slide. Here are the 2 questions. Who are the key stakeholders involved in a different seed system in your country? What are their strategies that promote integration efforts in the formal and informal seed systems? Share your country experiences in challenge LMS systems, where we have given these 2 questions. Thank you for listening my first part of the presentation of this session. We will discuss more in the second part of this sessions. If you'd like to know more about the seed system work that we are doing, please visit in this website. Till then, goodbye. We will see you in the next presentations.